Well, it is time again for Let's Go Fresco. This is a new show where we talk about Adobe Fresco, the dedicated drawing and painting app. I'm your host, Kyle T. Webster. Hope you can hear me okay today. We're going to be reviewing ways that you can customize Adobe Fresco for your own workflow, for your own drawing style, your own needs here on today's episode. Now, we tried this about 3 weeks ago, and unfortunately, I had some audio issues. Microphone just died in the middle of the stream. So, new mic, and I think it's working, I guess. Let me know if you can't hear me, folks. So we're going to do that today. We're going to do some nice customization of Adobe Fresco, and this is a great thing because everybody draws differently. And everybody has a different workflow, and it's nice to know that you can kind of move things around, shift things around, and change things up to suit your own personal taste. Pretty nice. All right, what's up? Peter is here. Peter, nice to see you. Froha, I see you as well. Sean, V. Gates, and Cody. Yay, Cody's here. I'm trying to look and see who else we got here. XR Infinity. I don't know if that's your real name, but if it is, interesting. Maybe your parents are related to Elon Musk. All right, gang, let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen here with the old iPad so you can see Adobe Fresco. And I've got a little document open here, and I want to start at the tippy top with customizing the app. With our settings. Okay, so we're going to head on up over to the top right corner. Follow the little blue circle here. This is where you know that you can see what I am doing on the screen. There's no hover state on iPad. I'm working on iPad today, but FYI, Fresco does work on numerous Windows devices as well. But on iPad, there's no hover state, so I'm going to come over here and tap on this little gear-shaped icon. And right off the bat, you see a few settings right here for viewing, okay? View settings right here. Now there's some very simple things you can do that have to do with the document, and that's flipping it and rotating and so on. But the setting I want to talk to you here that's most important right out of the gate is the touch shortcut right here, touch shortcut. Now, people who are familiar with what Fresco is know that the touch shortcut is this handy little circle that you can drag anywhere on the screen and dock, okay, there it goes. Sits there, doesn't move again. And it happens to be one of these things that we are so excited about because it allows you to do things quickly and efficiently just by touching it, sometimes double tapping it, triple tapping it. There's all kinds of things you can do with it. But there are some folks who don't want to use the touch shortcut, and that's fine. So up here in the settings, you can just turn it off. Very easy, all right? And I get this question a lot. Can I just get rid of that thing? Can I hide it for a moment? Sure, that's how you do it, right here, okay? Second thing, Artboard Preview. When we first launched Fresco, folks wanted to have reference images for when they were copying from other photographs or illustrations when they were drawing, right? And in doing that, we decided, hey, we should make it possible for people to have this option to turn it on or off, okay? On or off. And yes, I do have night mode on my screen, Cody. That is correct. So sorry about that, but I'm just doing it for my eyes. I look at screens all day. Hopefully it doesn't affect anything that you're looking at, but yes, I am using night mode right now. Okay, so moving on. The Artboard Preview is the next option you see here. Now, on this layer right here, I have this little bird that I've drawn. This was from Brush Hour. Last week where we drew like Eric Carle. Go watch that one back if you like Eric Carle. That was one of my favorite episodes of Brush Hour, talking about how to draw like Eric Carle with brushes. All right, but if you notice, as I pull over this way, I cannot see the image anymore because I'm dragging it off the canvas. Let's come back over here and let's turn on Artboard Preview. Turn it off, pardon me. Turn off Artboard Preview. There you go. Now, I can set my reference off to the right, to the left, wherever I want it, and then carry on drawing. So I've got that canvas, that active canvas space, right? But I can then also have something living off the canvas and have it in full view at all times, okay? So that's the beauty of the Artboard Preview right there, alrighty? So those are the two things, top level, I wanted to show you right off the bat. Now, coming back to our settings here, let's go into our app settings right here at the bottom, app settings. Alrighty, now, there's a lot to talk about here. If we go to General, for those of you who are left-handed, I am left-handed, by the way, but I prefer to still keep my tools on the left and my layers on the right. But if you prefer to switch that over, it's as simple as this. Just go blammo. Look at that. Everything flips right over. Okay, so now you've got all your tools over here on the right, and you've got all your layers over here on the left. Okay, easy peasy. You have also the appearance as a dark or a light mode. Okay, see that? Obviously, I prefer dark, again, because of my eyeballs being sensitive. All right. Now, this next one here is something for those of you who have to do a presentation with Fresco. If you were going to go and talk to somebody and show them a drawing or show them a process that you were doing, you didn't care about showing your tools and all of the other UI, the user interface, in the display, you could turn on canvas projection, okay? And that would allow you to mirror your screen, but only the actual canvas part of Fresco, the illustration that you're working on itself, the image, okay? There we go. All right, quick export settings. Now, everybody has different preferences for that. Mine is set to JPEG, okay, but you do have these other options for when you quick export an image out of Fresco. It'll automatically save it as a certain kind of file type right there. That's nice to do. And I'm going to skip over restore settings. We're not going to use that right now, but we're going to look at time-lapse settings as well. For those of you who have a limited amount of space on your iPads, or for those of you who don't care about exporting high-res time lapses, you can kick this all the way down to the lowest possible quality, okay, and that'll save some space on your device. You can also change from 4K down to the original 1080p right here, okay? So, but I like to keep it super high because I have to use time-lapse all the time to export a lot of the drawings. So just be aware that you do have some options right there. Moving on to input. All right, so I do not use the double tap on the new Apple Pencil. When I say new, I mean it's been out for about 2.5, 3 years now. But the original Apple Pencil had no actions on it with the barrel of the body of the pencil. However, the new one does have actions that you can employ with the body of the pencil, correct? So you can actually choose right here from this drop down multiple things that you could possibly do with this, from showing the color picker on down to zooming to fit, etc. All right, now I don't use it, but a lot of people like it. I want to make sure that you know it is there for you. With regards to touch, okay, that's our next category right here. So since I am on a touch device, and if you were on a Windows device like a Microsoft Surface or something similar, you would want to be able to maybe do things with your hands or not do things with your hands. Sometimes you don't want to trigger things that you don't want. There are ways to mess with this right here. And what I do is I use my fingers for gestures only. This way, I'm not accidentally going to make a mark on the canvas with my finger if I'm intending to do something else, okay? But you can also use your finger as whatever the eraser is that you've selected in Fresco. You can erase with the brush that you're currently using, draw with the brush, etc. So that's a very nice thing to be able to do. A lot of people also disable undo and redo because, again, on a touch device, you might accidentally set your fingers down for a moment, not meaning to undo, and then you didn't mean to trigger that action. If you go ahead and you turn that off, just remember that your undo and redo are right up here, the top right corner. See this? So you always have access to undo and redo, but you have to tap it on the screen with your pencil, okay? So we'll re-enable that because I use it all the time. Now this is great for the eyedropper. I love this. So originally we had it launched and then some people would hold their finger down and trigger the eyedropper when they didn't mean to. So we have solved this beautifully by making it so you can choose how long your finger has to be in contact with the screen. And if you look over here, the number is changing, okay? And that number represents seconds. So you can have a full second, pause for a full second, and then you trigger that eyedropper all the way up to 1.5 seconds. I leave mine pretty zippy, okay, 0.4 seconds, that's pretty good. And then we come to one of my favorites here at the bottom, and this is Snapline. I use Snapline all the time. And again, this is a common question I get, which is how do I draw straight lines in Fresco? Snapline right here, when it's enabled, allows you to draw a line, pause for a moment while maintaining contact, and the line will snap to a straight line. You can then modify it as you wish. But again, some people don't want that. If they're very slow and they draw very, very smooth, slow strokes and they pause for a moment as they decide, where do I want to go next, right? And then all of a sudden snapline gets enabled. They don't want that, okay? So you can turn that off if you wish. All right. Now, the rest of this information we're not going to look at because it's not necessary for messing things around for your customization of the app. All right, so we're jumping out of the main settings there, and now we're going to look at some of the tools and panels and so on. All right, let's start with, let me just first quickly change this back to the right side since I am used to that. There we go. So now I've got my tools back on the left and my layers and things on the right. Let's come over to our brush tool, right? Everybody knows that brushes are where it's at. This is how we get things going. Cody, I'm glad you're learning something here. That makes me happy. Excellent. Yeah, follow along, open Fresco and follow along with me. All right, so here we are with brushes. Now, brushes means drawing, and drawing means making marks on the canvas with your hand and with a stylus, and everybody, folks, draws differently. Some people have a light touch. Some people have a heavier touch. What do we do about that? Well, come on down to your brush settings panel right down here. See this? Once I have the brush selected, I go to settings and right down here, stylus pressure. Okay? You open up this window and now look at this. You have 6 presets all set to go for those of you who draw either all the way down on the light side, which means you're used to drawing with a very, very light touch, to those of you who bear down and use a lot of pressure when you draw, okay? Now, I keep mine on the second lightest setting, and the way you know if this feels right for you is we have a brush that you can test with over here on the right that allows you to go from a very, very faint mark to a very bold mark, okay? Or rather a thin mark to a very thick mark, okay? And you'll be able to tell how much pressure is required to ramp up from the thinnest to the thickest mark, and that'll tell you whether or not this is something you want to do. So if I come on down to heavy right here, holy cow, I've really got to bear down, to get the same results. So instead, I keep it right here. Now, everybody's different. For me, that feels good. Now for those fancy schmancy people out there, you can also come over here and you can adjust this pressure curve right here, okay, and get all crazy and super, super picky about how you want it to feel to draw in Fresco, all right? I'm going to reset mine and come on back down to here. All right, so make sure you check that out because by default, Fresco is a little on the heavy side, We want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with drawing. So that's how you do it, okay? Come over here, test it out, feels great, and you're done. If you want to access that elsewhere, you can always come over here to the general settings, go to your app settings, and under input, you have this option right here, adjust stylus pressure. It's right there, okay? So we have it in both places, but I always access it from the brushes panel. All right, back to brushes. When you tap on this panel for your brushes, okay, look over here at the top. There's a little horizontal bar. Look, as I pull, aha, did you know that you can move these panels around? You can have these sitting up on your canvas anytime you want, okay, and they can just stay there if you want your brushes open at all times. Another thing you can do is you can dock it over here to the left. When that little blue bar appears, bam, it just clicks right into place, and there it is. And now I can just leave my brushes open at all times, and I can play around with those as well. Very nice. All right, now, what else can you do that with? Well, look at my brush settings. Ta-da! I can pull those out. I can move those over here. I can move those over here, wherever I want. I could even dock them inside right here, okay? And then take them back out, close, good to go. What else can you do this with? Colors. Look at that. Move that anywhere you like, okay? And dock that right there if you wish, and close it again, up to you. So you have some nice flexibility there with our panels. You can move those around. Some people don't want to always be tapping to access color. They want to have that color wheel open at all times. Go ahead, do what you want, no problem. All right, back to our brushes again. So speaking of customization, we want to make sure that your favorite brushes are easily accessible. And the way you do this is any brush that you use all the time and you love. Look at this, Belgian Comics. I use this brush all the time, okay? So I'm gonna come back up to that Belgian Comics, and all I have to do is tap on the little star right here. See that? And now it's blue. See it right there? It's a blue star brush, okay? What happens when I come over here to favorites? Favorites. There it goes. Just added the Belgian Comics. So my favorite brushes just get thrown into that list right there. When I come back to all my brushes, at any time, I can switch from all to favorites and have them right there. All right, so favorite brushes, very easy. Also, brush management, all right? So if you're like me, you have too many brushes, all right? But this is because it's part of my job. I have to constantly bang around in between these different brush sets and pick and choose things and compare and contrast and make sure I'm not repeating myself and all the rest. But for the average person, it's probably a lot to keep track of. Maybe you don't want that many. All right, so what do? Folks, here at the top, there are 3 little dots, okay? 3 little dots. I tap on those. Manage pixel brushes. Aha, here we go. Managing our pixel brushes. Here we go. Now, this gives me the full list of brushes. That includes the brushes that are the default categories in Fresco, okay? That's basic all the way through sketching right here, okay? And then under that, I have all my library brushes, okay? This is a big list. And you'll notice that some of these, see this? Some of these have a little, that the switch is turned off over here on the right. See that? Switch is turned off right there, okay? What does that mean? Well, that means that I am not using those brushes at the moment, okay? So I just turn them off or I turn them back on. Okay, that's as simple as that. Very nice. So that way I can clean things up. So if you wanted to, you could come in here and you notice I've turned off about, 8 or 10 different libraries of brushes. But what's nice is, or actually more than that, what's nice is anytime I want, I can turn them right back on and they'll just be visible again. So it's not like you're deleting them, okay? Don't fear, don't worry, you're not deleting anything, okay? Those libraries are still available to you, but you can hide them, which is great. So there's your brush management solution right there. And got some cool information for you out there. This year, we are working on a lot of cool new brush stuff. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be some interesting things coming down the pipeline here for all you brush fans. And I'm one of them. So got some neat new brush stuff coming out. All right, so that's managing brushes and so on. All right, I want to skip over now and just mention that for your other categories of brushes, you can also still use favorites. And so what's nice about favorites is they can mix the different categories of brushes and you can switch really fast without even having to switch different categories. For example, I use the Wash Soft a lot, and I use it quite a bit bigger than that. So there's my Wash Soft brush. I come in here and I just favorite that. And there it is, favorites. Oh, I'm sorry, it does stick to the category. My mistake. Yeah, my mistake. But you do have it in that category, which is great. And as these categories expand, which hint, hint, they will in the coming months, it'll be nice to have some favorites there. All right, so moving on down now, we're gonna look at colors, okay? All right, now I already mentioned that you can move this dock this around, do whatever you want. But one of the other nice things you can do is you can create libraries of colors in the same way that you create libraries of brushes and things like that. And you can create these in Adobe Capture. Once you save a library of colors that you want from a photograph or from a palette you're using or whatever it happens to be, your colors will show up right here where it says all. See this? Check it out, folks. These are color libraries I've created since 2018, so it goes back to however long you've had your Creative Cloud subscription and ID. All of these colors right here, see that, are saved in themes. And this is so nice because I can come back to them anytime. If there are a certain group of colors I was like, man, I really love those colors I used for fill in the blank, XYZ. They travel with you everywhere. So the example I always like to give is I could fly over to Singapore tomorrow. I could log into a stranger's computer and get Photoshop, or I could open up an iPad, some other person's iPad, sign into Fresco as myself. My brush libraries and my color libraries and my shape libraries, which we'll look at in a moment, they all travel with me at all times. So all my assets are there. I'm good to go. I don't have to try and hunt for anything. I don't have to save it anywhere special. So that's really convenient. So yeah, here are all these colors that I've got in different libraries, and they're always there waiting for me. Okay, voila. A lot of people don't know about that, and so I like to point that out. All right, we'll close that up. Close that up. Now, I was mentioning shape libraries. Let's take a look at that. If you haven't used vector shapes yet, and I'm gonna zoom out here for a moment, and I'll hide this drawing so you can see that I actually have a vector shape that was in place in this document. And what's cool is Fresco remembers the last vector shape I used for this illustration and exactly where I placed it and at exactly what size. And that's what you're seeing right now, because I used it for the background of this character here. See that? It's got that cool little, those lines that are radiating outwards from behind the head. That's the shape that I used right here. And where that comes from is this Fresco Comics shapes library. And shape libraries are exactly like color and brush libraries. They travel with you. You create shapes in Adobe Capture. Reminder, Capture is a 100% free app. Grab it, works on your phone, works on Android, works on iPad, and you can just take a picture, you can turn it into vector art, you can draw something, you can turn it into vector art. That's what the vector shapes are. And you'll notice that I have, for example, this Halloween pack that I made 2 years ago, I believe. And this was an Adobe released thing. So fun. I actually drew all of these in Fresco. And I was using just a regular pixel brush, just a thick to thin brush to draw these. And I exported them to Capture and turned them into infinitely scalable vector art. So if I select one of these, like this ghost, shows up on the screen, and I can resize it, do what I want. I can make it a selection, I can make it a mask, I can make it into a vector layer, I can make it into a pixel layer, lots of different things. But again, those shapes travel with you as well. All right, so those are really, really nice to have with you. I'll close that up. All right, gonna pause for a moment and see. Bruce says, man, I tell you, Capture is such a powerful and versatile app. Love it. Couldn't agree with you more, Bruce. It's also one of those apps that every time I show somebody, they flip out and they're like, what? I didn't know this existed. Kyle, do you have to save your settings like Photoshop, or will they be there the next time you come into Fresco? Bruce, your settings are sticky. They stick. So you do not have to save them. And one of the things I was going to mention about that, I'm glad you brought it up, is that brush settings are also sticky in that if I were to, for example, take a brush like the blocky mixer, and let's say that I'm going to use it at 173 pixels in size, and I'm going to change the flow. Okay, I want it to like 50% or something like that. I could leave this document and open a new document, okay? And then if I come to that brush, which is in the mixer brush category right here, mixer brushes, blocky mixer, look, it's 173 pixels. The flow is set to 50. So that's a really nice thing as well, is that if there's a brush setting that you use, you don't have to, it's not even saved per document. It'll remember it across the whole app, and the next time I open it, same thing. And then anytime you need to reset it, remember, you just come on down here and there's a little reset button right there. Bam, reset it back to its normal stuff, okay? Jumping back to that other illustration here. The other thing I wanted to point out was that your recent brushes also travel with the document, okay? So any brushes I use in this document will be saved with it. They are sticky. So if I open it a year from now, the brushes I used in that document, even if I used 100 of them, we have not set a limit for recent brushes, no limit. Just like there are no layer limits, there are no recent brush limits. So you're in really good shape there. Okay, gang? Nice. Let's see, any other questions? Cool, docking multiple menus. Yes, you can do that, absolutely. And okay, there you go. Well, so folks, so there you go. We've covered some customization for the way things look, for setting up your documents and so on. And speaking of which, I just want to quickly point this out. When you go to a custom size for your document, remember that anything you set up, you can always save. So if I do a weird size, 1358, okay? I can always come down here, save this size, and name it whatever I want. And the next time I come back, I go to saved, and there are my sizes right there. Very convenient. So that's all there for you as well. Nice to be able to do that. Okay, so that pretty much covers it. And I hope you enjoyed that episode. Thanks for joining me. And we'll be doing more Let's Go Fresco in another couple weeks, so stay tuned. Watch my masterclass on Friday. Hope you enjoy it. And everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other, be kind, and I'll say ciao for now.